Good evening. My name is J.L. James, and I call this meeting to order at 7:32, the June meeting of the Rezoning Committee meeting. And you can just go across the screen and just say who you are and whether you're a member, and just very quickly, because everyone tonight will have the opportunity to be able to express their opinion. We want to hear what you have to say. It's important. So you can just say your name and we'll move on from there.
Adele Bennett, committee member.
Vanessa Quashie, committee member.
DeCosta, committee member. Bree DeCosta, committee member.
Simone Sylvester, board member.
Brandon Mathurin, board member.
Louis Brown, board member.
So I think everyone has introduced themselves. At this time, did everybody get a copy of the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, are there any corrections?
No.
Can I get a motion to accept the minutes then? Just a simple motion saying we accept the minutes as presented.
We accept the minutes as presented.
A second.
Second the motion. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, who made the motion? I wasn't looking at who made this? Okay, so Ms. Quashie is seconding the motion, and Ms. Robinson made the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Aye.
Is this
Aye.
someone is opposing? But I think, okay, I think the majority has it. Okay, thank you very much. Just to give some background history. Over 17 years ago, CB 17 made an appeal to New York City to rezone in light of what they foresaw would be this unplanned, chaotic development that would take place. And for the past 17 years, CB 17 has, with no success, been able to rezone the district. And because of that, it has led us to be, caused us to be extremely vulnerable. I'm going to give a minute for my screen to start sharing. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make this as non-complicated as possible. New York City, every inch in New York City is divided or has a zoning code. And it can range from an R1 to whatever. And in our district, we have a sizable section, which is an R6. And what that does is give a developer the right to pretty much go as high as the developer wants, based on how many homes they're able to destroy to build it. And so what you see here is in the R6 area to the west in the district. All the buildings that you've seen coming up have been as a matter of right. There has not been the process whereby a developer has had to come to the community board to build any of the buildings that you see. So many of you may have seen the building on Linden Boulevard, I think 26 stories high, don't hold me to it. That developer was able to construct that building without ever coming to the community board. In other community boards in Brooklyn, they would have to come to the land use committee and then to the general board to be able to construct a building of that size. So everything that you see going on today is as a matter of right. In the eastern area here is also an R6, but they have shied away from it for whatever reason. Although one developer now has stepped up and is proposing to do this massive development in their top portion of it. So here we have an R4, which calls for homes, 2, 3 stories, 2 stories, 3 stories, and R5 over here. This is remember the Kings Highway process we had recently with regard to the storage facility, where the developer wanted the M1 zoning change to be able to do construct a storage facility. You'll be happy to hear, some of you, that he was unsuccessful. He did not get the zoning. But here is a major problem where you see this R6 area here. And as I indicated, developers can take any side street, except for East 25th Street, which is protected by landmark status. They can destroy 2, 3 homes. I mean, Martin's Avenue is almost painful for me to see what's going on there. And that's because under the zoning rules, they have the right. So whereas every other community board in Brooklyn, there are 18 of them, was able to have some measure, if not all, a measure what's called contextual zoning, meaning that a developer has to develop within the context of what's there. It's a free-for-all in our community. Okay. So I can do one or two things. I can open up the community session now. I probably should show you what's being proposed. So the last time we interacted, the board interacted with DCP was back in 2020. And a proposal was made to rezone the entire district to what's called a contextual district, which is an R6A. And it took 2 years for DCP to even acknowledge they received the letter. They finally acknowledged it sometime earlier this year and categorically decided not to move forward with what was presented. So alternatively, a plan has been drafted, subject to your approval tonight, where we are proposing that areas we've lost already, to allow them, the developers, to go ahead and have it and upzone it. So specifically, if you look at my map, can you see this? Can you see the new map I'm showing now, or do I need to? What are you seeing? Do you see a multicolors right now?
You're good. I see areas proposed as contextual and contextual downzoning.
Perfect, thank you.
Can you make
So
it a
what-
little bigger? Just
I will try. Hold 1 second. Just give me 1 second.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. And I'll shift it down so you can start at the top. So what is being proposed here was the R7-1, where the developer constructed this huge building on Linden Boulevard, right around here. And so the proposal is to be able to allow them to continue the development down there. However, in this area here, which is of R5B, it would restrict it to nothing more than no higher than 3 stories. So this entire area from Church Avenue all the way down to Glenwood Farragut would be restricted to no more than 3 stories. On Rogers Avenue, they would be permitted to go as high as 7 stories. On New York Avenue, they would be permitted to do the same as well. However, this would be commercial. And here there's a small portion where they could go as high as 6 stories. So 3 stories here, 5 stories there. And in exchange for limiting the development here on New York Avenue, they would be able to go as high as 7 stories, as well as on Utica Avenue as well, up here. To the east, they would be able to go up 7, 8 stories, I think up to 12. This developer wants to go up to 12 stories over here. Along the avenues, it would be probably 6, and then over here would all be 3 stories. So that is what is being proposed. Utica Avenue would stop at Lenox Road. And can you give me a second? I think I need to check to see if I got the revised map. This doesn't look like the last map. Just give me 1 second, please. Should have been emailed to me. It's been a constant back and forth because we wanted to make sure we got the buy-in from city planning, and we also had discussions with the mayor's office today, and we want to have a unified front to ensure we get all the support that we need. Okay, where is this? Okay, that's better. Okay. Sorry about that. Hopefully this is the right one. Yes. Okay. Okay, so this is what is being proposed. And at this point, I'm going to give Eric, so I'll just go over this very quickly again because I didn't have the correct map up. We've been going back and forth with it. So here is North. Do I need to increase the size? I'll do it one more time. I'll make it one time. Okay. This is New York Avenue, which would be upzoned all the way down. If you've traveled down New York Avenue recently, you can see we've lost it. It'll be residential all the way down. Then Rogers Avenue would be residential on the ground floor. They would be permitted to go 6, 7 stories high, as well as in this area over here. And then up here on Linden Boulevard and Lenox Avenue to the east, that's possible. Then Utica Avenue. There is a major a large Vital Brooklyn development taking place, not in Community Ward 17. That's going to be 8, 9 stories. So the idea was to go ahead and expand this area here. And however, the rest of Utica Avenue would not be upzoned to protect the existing businesses that are there. And then to the east, this is what the developer is being proposed. Before I open the floor to everyone to be able to speak, let me just simply say this. We have 2 choices. We can do nothing and allow the developers to reshape the community. So that one day we wake up and find all those areas which I showed you previously, which are R6, have all been developed. And the next thing, they would want to encroach on the other areas which are quote unquote right now, R4s, and R5s. Even if they don't succeed, the fact is that with more expensive development around us, it's going to impact the real estate taxes that we are paying. So whereas one person, mentioned to me on Tuesday when she bought a house some years ago, her real estate taxes were 1,000. Now she's paying 5,000. In the next 5-10 years, when around us looks like Manhattan, you can realistically expect real estate taxes to be 15,000. If someone is on a fixed income, Social Security, how are they going to be able to maintain their houses? Home ownership benefits not only just the homeowners, but traditionally homeowners offer much lower rental units to persons in the community. A report came out recently, a few weeks ago, that Community Board 17 of all the community boards across the city had produced the third highest expensive rentals between 2020 and 2022. Permit me to repeat this. In the entire city, the most expensive apartments, the third highest, including Manhattan, was in this district here. So that tells us that what is being constructed is not for us. I might say for us, given the average income in Community Ward 17 is only $55,000. Yes, there are people who earn for $85,000. Yes, there are people who earn $100,000, but that's not the average. So it means that what's going on right now is not affordable for existing residents. So at this time, I'm going to stop and open up the floor to just indicate by hands. Margarita, you have the floor.
My question at this point is, how, if we do this and we upzone those areas, what is the contract we're going to have with the city that they're not going to come and ask for more? Like, how long is this plan going to last? Are we going to have it in writing or something? Like, what's the guarantee that they're not going to come and ask for more?
Ask for more now before it's adopted, or
No, I
after?
mean, like, so we adopt this, we rezone, and then, how long is this going to last before they maybe want to come in and do another rezoning? Like from the
Okay.
city? Like, is the
Okay.
city then going to maybe come in and ask or just rezone it? Like, what is the guarantee that this is going to be the end of it and we'll be set now?
Okay, great. The city does not ordinarily, and I say ordinarily because life is some, engage in rezoning unless it's asked to rezone. So if the city were to come, let's say, the next 3 years and say they want to rezone, there will be created precedent that has not been established before. And the question then will be, why is it that you want to do it in our district and not the other 50 districts in New York City? So to answer your question, they only come in, as a rule, they only come in to rezone when they're being asked to rezone. And that's what we're doing right now. We're asking them to rezone CV 17 like they did. Because right now, our zoning codes go back to even before I was born. It goes back all the way back into the 60s, 1961 to be precise. That's when the codes were established and they have not been changed, whereas every other district, all 17 districts in Brooklyn have been rezoned. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, I have a follow-up, and then
Okay. Mhm.
are we, so we're gonna do those upzonings, are we downzoning any place, or you just didn't?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But even without the downzoning, at least, yes, I'll tell you. So right now, you're still seeing the map, right?
Yes,
Okay. Do you see my mouse moving?
yes,
All of this area over here is an R6, even the side streets.
right.
So it means any developer can go into any block between Bedford and New York on East 31st Street, East 26th Street, anywhere here, and tear down one or more buildings
Right.
and construct a high rise there. And they can do it as a matter of right. We cannot stop them. So with this proposed rezoning, they would not be able to do that.
Okay, so that's going to be down zone to then R5B.
Correct. With an R5B, the maximum that you can have is a 3-story building.
Okay.
And in exchange, they can go up to like 8, whatever they want to go up on Rogers Avenue, New York Avenue, and Bedford.
Right. Okay. And then,
Go ahead and just, yeah, because we have some time, we just, at least I want everybody to be able to ask. And then the next, after this question, Margarita, I have to open up.
yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
think-
I,
go
I'm
ahead,
just,
go ahead.
I want to get all my stuff in now, so I'll leave it
Sure.
for everybody else. So down on the middle part of the map where the cemetery is,
Mm-hmm.
the green part, under there where it says R4B, and then it looks like those two areas were not R4B. Those were just R4, I think. So is that going to be
They-
changed there?
Yeah, R4B makes it even more restrictive.
But only in those two areas you're restricting it? Or it's- I mean-
Yes, I'm trying to remember why. I think these are more single homes. Well, I'm trying to remember what the difference was.
Yeah.
I could be the parking issue, but essentially, we're still talking about the fact that the developer cannot go on 3 stories in this area here.
Well, this whole area around it, it says R41, but
Mhm.
again, this was always just an R4 area, not R41. So is that also getting rezoned to R41?
More restrictive, correct? Yes.
Okay. Are you sure that's more restrictive?
Okay, let me just take a second. I'm glad you asked. Let's do this. So, New York City, zoning code R4-1. R4-1 is a residential zoning code that allows for 1 family and 2 family residences only. You can build detached, semi-detached, and 0 lot
Yeah,
lines.
see, that's the lot, that's it. That the 0 lot lines is what makes it more dense. So R41's really kind of like an upzoning. More like R4 is not as dense as R41.
Okay. Let me just,
R4B also is more dense, but we should check that out before we.
yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. So anybody else wants to speak, go ahead, please. Was it Anne? I thought I saw, Adele Bennett can go ahead.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Okay, so my
I don't think we're hearing you
I'm
clearly.
sorry. Hello, can you hear me? Good evening, everyone. Yes, I just wanted to raise the issue of the with regards to the R6 area, because I don't know, I must be very unlucky. But we spent so much time, my family and I, seeking a home of our own, and we got something eventually in the what seems to be now the R6 area around the Martin Street area, and Martin Street and East 31st. But it seems like that is one of the areas that have been is gonna be zoned for high rise. Am I correct in saying that?
Which area here?
I can't see the map. Your map changed, and I'm not able to see exactly. But it would be by New York.
So
Okay.
so between New York and
And Nostrand.
Rogers.
And Nostrand.
Okay, but between New York and Rogers, it would be a maximum of 3 stories.
Between New York and Rogers. You mean everything? Okay, so New York and Rogers. Okay. Oh, a maximum of 3 stories. Oh, okay. So what about there has been some development in that area, and I'm sure some of the new structures that were put up are more than 3 stories. What's
Well,
gonna,
they'll
uh-huh.
be grandfathered that we would be able to tear them down. And trust me,
So
I had a photographer take Martins because it really broke my heart to see what was going on, specifically Martins, where you
uh-huh,
see a room of lovely homes. And
yes,
then they would just break down one house in the middle and
yes,
create this atrocity going up.
yes.
I'm like, where else in New York City would that be permitted other than our neighborhood? And so I was really, really displeased about that.
Yes, I'm happy to hear that you share my sentiments. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So uh so there's nothing that can be done because our proposal is going to be that that area will have a maximum of 3 stories. Is that what we're moving towards?
Correct. Now you're more familiar with the area than me.
Okay.
What does, because if we can change that. What does Martins from Raw? Because I walked down Nostrand, sorry, New York. I walked down Nostrand to Rogers when I saw what was going on.
Okay.
But I couldn't remember from Rogers to Bedford.
From Rogers.
Do you know, we can do a street, oh my God, I'm sorry. We
Okay,
can do a
Rogers to
street,
Bedford. Okay, so there's some high-rise buildings uh, higher than 3 stories, especially on what is that, Linden Boulevard? Yes, there's a lot of high-rise structures, but further and also between Nostrand and Bedford, they have put up a number of high-rise. And on Martin Street, there's actually high-rise that have been there for some time at the corner of Nostrand and Martins.
okay.
And
Yeah, so that's what the whole idea is to, I was trying to get a street view. Don't know why it's not coming up. Street view, Google Maps, street view. I wanted to go down Martins to be able to see what it looks like. Why is it telling me I don't have access to Google Maps? If somebody's able to bring it up, I'll let them share the screen, but for some reason.
all right, and they've been building so much that they've been just putting out a lot of what is it, like things like some sort of foam material. So we used to be able to plant like vegetables in the backyard. We are not able to do any of that because of the foam.
Environmental issues. Has anybody reported that to?
Yes, we have called a number of times. We have called the building department. They have come and inspected and insisted that they're going to do something, and nothing has been done. And this has been going on since last year. We have called time and time again. As a matter of fact, on certain occasions, we had to stop the builders from tearing down our neighbor's back fence, yeah, and cutting down the trees. Because when they come to build, they are insisting that part of our land belongs to them, and they should be able to put up their fencing or do whatever building they want. So all of that has been going on. We have been reaching out to the building department and trying to get assistance from them, and they're not very what should I say, helpful. They come and they look and then nothing is done about it.
Is anybody able to bring up Google Maps Street View?
And so the lady spoke, if you contact environmental protection and have them come out and home to see what it is.
I can probably help there, but just tell me what do you want me to pull?
Yeah, we're looking for Martin Street between Nostrand and Bedford.
between, you could look from New York to, what is it, Bedford, New
I'll
York.
use my address. I'll
Yes.
give him my address, an address.
Oh, you need
Yeah,
an
provide an
address?
address. Yeah, if you give an
Three-
address, then you
Brandon.
can zoom, you can really zoom.
There's a
across the-
131
Could do
Martin?
341 Martin Street.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah,
But
thank
they're-
you.
But they're not building right now because we have been following up. And we have been really, we go out and we speak to them and we, really, tell them that they should not be doing that. So right now there's no, some buildings have been completed on, what is it? Linden Boulevard, because we share the back. Martin Street shares what is it? A back area with Linden, with the houses that are on Linden Boulevard. Okay.
Ms. James? Julia?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just trying to.
No, what I
get
was
some-
going to do is, remember the discussion we had before the meeting started? Remember the individual I was telling you about? Now, she's trying to get the Department of Buildings to come out to help her. but
Okay,
it's
yes.
difficult.
Okay, so they're going towards Nostrand Avenue. There are there's a lot of big apartments already there. Those are not recent structure. Yes, okay. So yes, that has been there, but behind Martins, we have a lot of building on Linden Boulevard, right? And further over on Martin Street, going towards Rogers and Bedford. There's been a lot of
So we're going
new
to Rogers.
structures.
So let's go to Rogers then. We'll go to Rogers.
Okay.
I'm trying to drive down the street while you're talking. That's why.
Okay. Oh, okay. I hear you. Okay. Yes. So some of the big apartments were there already. Those big apartments, I think that we're looking at, they were there. Those, I think that is in front of, what is it? Fairview Place. So then you're gonna go, if you go further, what would it be?
What? Not,
Further west. So you would be going, 341 would be nearer to East 32nd and East 31st, right? But if you go away from, so the numbers of the streets get lower. Like, are you following what I'm saying?
I am.
So towards Nostrand and Rogers and Bedford, the numbers of the street would get lower. Like it would be East 26, East 25 and that sort of thing. So if you go in that direction, you will actually see the newer structures that were built up in between the original homes, two-family homes. Yes, so what they do is sometimes they say they're refurbishing, but they actually got the entire of their house and then they build on top of the structure and keep part of it. So I think there must be something where they can't tear down the structure, so they build upon it and just use and retain part of the original structure. But there's nobody there who has been going out and really policing the situation. Because I work, and my relative who is my sister, many of you may have met us at the office, she's not well. She's not so always well. So there's just so much that we can do,
Yeah, so going,
So can you see the structures in between? I think there's a number of houses on Martins between Nostrand and Rogers.
I think you're
Okay,
going.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going down. She said like 241 or something, but you're going down the other way.
No, so you must go in the direction that makes the street numbers lower.
Oh,
So
lower, okay.
lower, so it must, okay, so maybe if you go to 295 Martin Street, 210, that sort of numbers, that would help. Okay, so those are the big apartments that were already there. Okay, and it's at the corner, that would be, I think, New York, not New York, Nostrand Avenue.
Yeah, this is Nostrand Avenue here, yeah.
Nostrand Avenue. So those big apartments were already there. Okay. But on the other side now, like at, yeah, like at the okay, so so past Nostrand and go towards Rogers Avenue, and you'll really see it. And we have also been okay. Yeah, but you can stay on Martin Street. You don't have to go on others.
Yeah, so I mean, what this will do, it will curtail any further development on Martins between New York and Rogers.
Between New York and Rogers. Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Well, what about the other people from Rogers to Bedford?
But given the fact that you just, as you pointed out, there are already existing structures there.
Oh, okay.
It would be harder. It would be harder to make an argument to not permit them to construct there.
That is what we were we had that feeling about that once, and they know that. So what they do is they try to get homes, like 1 or 2 homes on a certain street, and they build it up as high as they can, just waiting on all of this to come in place so that they know they already have that area.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, so
So,
that
I
is
mean,
that is their rationale.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh.
I mean, unless you
Uh-huh.
can give, we would have to come up with a compelling argument as to why.
Yes, people have their
given the
homes,
fact-
people have bought their homes, and something happens, and the family member probably needed to sell. And you know what? These developers, they're very tricky, because when we were trying to get somewhere to purchase, they said they got like local people to go in and to purchase from the homeowners, saying that they would just refurbish the place and they weren't gonna build up any areas. And then lo and behold, those people sold to developers, and then we see some big structures. And they would never sell to us, the ordinary people. It took us such a long time to get a number of years. You know, we were here and we just got this place. We were here for about 20 years, and we just got this place within the last, when did we get it? 5 years or so. Yes, because they just would not sell to us.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
sorry I'm not trying to take over the meeting, but
No,
really
we're
this is
trying to, we will spend whatever time is, I mean, as long as you're willing to invest the time into it, we will to do it. Happy to have Tim Anderson from City Council with us. So
Okay.
Tim, do you want to just give some insight as to why it's necessary that we do this approach?
And I can't, speak completely on it since George isn't here. But and sorry I joined a little late, so I missed some of the earlier conversation. But the rationale with the I don't know how extensive the conversation was, but the idea that I can speak to is that the R7A and the C4A kind of on the northwestern side of, and sorry, my daughter's crying in the background.
It's okay, that's fine. My bird was carrying on a while ago.
But towards the northwestern sides of the district, I think the idea is to go up in those areas, and then on a lot of the side streets, I think where you had the R5B and the R41, to kind of go down to preserve those blocks. So I think, the council and, the council land use, like, we're definitely on board with where this is going. I'm really here to just listen and, get an understanding of how the community feels about this proposal, as it stands, and hopefully, we'll be able to move forward, with something to DCP, so yeah, yeah, I'm just really I'm curious what folks' feedback is and has been. Sorry.
That's fine.
I jumped on a little late.
And I can't tell the team here, the rezoning committee here, how invaluable planning and land use has been in terms of the support. Quite honestly, it would have been a lot more difficult for me to have gone through this process if I didn't know that they were committed to working with this community. It helped significantly. Tim, I mean, just a general question. Are you comfortable, I won't put you in the spot, explaining R4-1, R4B, and how it relates to R4?
Sure.
Okay.
So yeah, I can say that I know currently most of the district is zoned R4. There's really the difference between R4 and R4-1. I mean, it's the same. It's the same FAR, the same perimeter wall, the same building height. So you can only build to 35 feet. So it'll really these zoning districts will definitely assist in keeping any new development lower. I think the only differences between R4-1 and R4, R4 and R4-1 are just the side yards and the rear yards. So R4, there are different requirements. You can have you can have a larger side yard under R4 and a more narrow side yard under R4-1. For the other districts like R5B, that one also limits the height to that also only limits the height to about 33 feet with a little bit more FAR. So really, those new districts on the map, the R4s and the R5s, will keep any new development down. I don't know if you wanted me to go further into the other ones like R7A.
Sure, please. Please, yeah.
Okay, R7A would allow, would meet the threshold for inclusionary housing. That one's those districts provide for a little bit more height, up to 9 stories in R7A. And then those C44A is the equivalent of R7A, so that's also 9 stories. And the C42A is R6A equivalent, which is a little lower at 8 stories. So sorry if I'm throwing a bunch of numbers out there, but if it's happy to answer any questions. But wherever you see those pinks and reds on the map, that'll allow for a little bit more density. And in those other areas that you had that were orange and yellow, those are more lower density, so to kind of conform with the existing homes that are there, the lower density homes, like the 3-story homes.
Thank you. Bree had a question. Would you like to go ahead?
Yes,
Bree?
I mean, he kind of answered my question. My question was about the R5B zoning and how that compares to what it is today, and why, you get a 3-story building there, but more, of a residential zoning in R4B or R41 or whichever, maybe it was R4. I can't remember because the map's not up, but I just wanted to understand why much of the area, around between Church and Snyder from, oh my goodness, I have to see the map again, but I just wanted to understand why the R5B was chosen.
Okay, so go, can you see that I changed the map to go back to the existing? All of here is zone, currently zoned as R6.
Not up. We don't see the map.
It's not up.
Yeah.
The map is not up, sorry.
1 second. Okay, so do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so going back to, this is the current zoning. So all of this area here is R6, which is, for lack of a better word, unprotected. A developer can buy as many plots as land as he or she chooses, and there is no height restriction. So we've taken out pictures, and when the final report comes out, you'll see it where the monstrosities, like a 15-story building, like right next to, a two-story home. And the emotional and psychological impacts of this, because you feel you're being crowded out. So the whole idea is to permit upzoning on the major streets, major avenues, and then curtail the heights of any future development within the R5B, which we showed you earlier.
Right, and then, and I will add that, excuse me, I will add that the R5, the maximum height is 40 feet, but the R5B does lower that down to 33 feet. So, for the most part, you're not seeing a lot of that you're not seeing too much of that out of scale development happening in the R5 district. It's mostly in the R6, and that's where the R5B would probably would be most beneficial, but it also wouldn't hurt to also zone that in the R5 as well, just for conformity.
I'm sorry, I was George, who worked in this, was texting me. Can you just repeat the last point you made?
Oh yes, I was just saying that the R6 is where a lot of that out of scale development is occurring. So the R5B would be a lot more beneficial in those areas to kind of retain conformity with the 2 to 3 story homes that already exist. So that's the primary rationale. I think just in terms of the R5B the R5 that currently exists, going to R5B just would just ensure that any new development was contextual. Because I think the one distinction that I apologize for not making is when we talk about R5, that's that does have height caps in certain instances, but that's a non-contextual district. So you may get a new development that doesn't fit in with the surrounding structures, whereas R5B is a contextual district. So any new development would have to conform to adjacent structures.
Thanks. That's a very key point. Yeah, because you're seeing quite often where, for example, all the buildings on the street are being set back, whatever the feet may be, 10, 15 feet, and then a new development coming in where there's just almost no setback. So what the 5B would do, correct me if I'm wrong, is ensure it conforms with the existing setback and other things on the street. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, great. And Valerie Booth?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm wondering if you have, you're saying there's a report that's going to come out that explains all of this. Is that correct?
Yeah, but it's also dependent a lot what you do tonight. So this is to get a consensus from the committee that they're comfortable with this approach.
Right.
It's going to be a democratic process. We're going to vote on it.
Okay.
And if we are comfortable that it addresses our needs, given the fact that our backs against the wall right now. Because as I said earlier, if we do nothing, we're going to find a situation where we're just surrounded to the point where we just, give up, right?
Yeah. So the other lady asked earlier if if this is approved, I guess, if this ends, if this is it, or will we see where the R4s are? Because I'm not quite sure if I'm looking at the district, or maybe the eastern side of the district where they're the R4s right now. If we're going to see, that those areas are impacted, because I think most of those areas are the 2-family homes, 1-family and 2-family homes, and they'd be really out of context. I mean, I thought some of the buildings on the western side was out of context, but it'd be really out of context here. So I'm wondering if once this is approved, can we see, in the R4 areas, the same kind of quote unquote development happen, a few years down the road. Number 2. And the third thing I wanted to ask was whether do you have any kind of a document, like a key, that will explain what the, you know, these various zonings mean. And yeah, basically a meaning for all of these zones. Because, you know, if I should show this to someone on my block, I mean, you should be able to explain the difference between an R5, what is it, R5B, and an R4, you know, an R41 and that kind of thing. So I'm
That's a
wondering.
good point. We will get it to you. But Tim, can you just because one of the things the committee wanted assurance was that if we move forward with this, then that's it. They were very concerned that, you know, next year, well, soon after that, the city can just impose or come in. So can you, I try to explain, I think I was correct, that the city would have to be invited into rezone, that it wouldn't just arbitrarily just rezone. Was I wrong, or can you just shed some light on this?
No, that's correct. I think that, you know, and I hope I'm, you know, I don't want to speak for the Department of City Planning at all, but, you know, my, you know, understanding is, you know, they will not just kind of, you know, come in suddenly and say, you know, okay, this is R6, we're just going to go to R6A. You know, they do want to be invited in by the community. And you know, it's not something that's just going to, you know, get dropped on you all and then suddenly it's something new. But, you know, I think, you know, there will be, you know, a lot of discussion, you know, with the council members, with the Department of City Planning, on a course forward. And, you know, I think, you know, I also have to just, you know, tip my hat to all of you for all of this work. You know, it's been amazing to see all this come together. And, you know, I think that, you know, putting forth a proposal, and you know, this proposal, you know, is essentially the community inviting DCP in to come and, you know, address a lot of these concerns that you all have shared. So I don't think this is something where, you know, you're putting this forward and then, you know, there may be tweaks, I'm sure, as it goes through the public review process, because, you know, even if DCP decided, you know, arbitrarily that they're just going to rezone something, which they wouldn't do, you know, there would still have to be, you know, the review process, and they would still have to, you know, receive feedback from the community. So, yeah, I think, you know, I think that, you know, once this, you know, goes forward to them, they'll definitely, you know, again, not speaking for them, but hopefully, I'm sure they would, you know, engage a bit more.
So can I ask then, if that's the case, where did the original request to rezone come from? Because, and I ask that because I think most people started seeing them years ago. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we started seeing buildings go up. And then, at least from my perspective, you know, which is very limited here, I know that the community board starting, you know, inviting people in to, you know, to join this committee and to talk about, you know, what was going on. But it seems like the buildings started going up out of nowhere. And then, you know, we were kind of, I've heard people say we were behind the 8 ball, whatever. But I guess my question is basically, what was the original? But did someone ask to rezone, or did they just start building? How did this all start?
Okay, so unless Tim, you want to jump in here, I don't mind. I'll be happy if you do.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I thought, you know, I'm pretty sure the request is coming from you all, from CD17, who, you know, I saw all this. It's a response to all of that out of context development that's occurred. That, you know, my understanding is that this process started, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. James, with the dates. I believe it was back in 2017 when the Brooklyn Borough president created a soft site analysis on, potential potential rezoning in CD17, and then these ongoing conversations since then with WXY, with George James, now with Pratt Center, to find a way forward where growth made sense and where we could kind of, you know, protect these areas that are seeing this development. So, you know, I think that request is coming from you all, but I know DCP has, I mean, obviously, as you all know, I'm sure, you know, that they've been a little, I guess they're still trying to, you know, figure out how to move forward here. So again, I don't want to speak again since, you know, they're not on this call, but
Yeah.
I think, you know, the request is coming from the community. It's coming from the community. It's my understanding.
Okay, great. So in 2017, one second, please. In 2017, the borough president's office, under the leadership of Richard Barak really stepped forward to help out. But the request came back, was made 17 years ago. 17 years ago. We were the second community board to ask that the city update the zoning in Community Board 17. If you can imagine that Sheepshead Bay, that community district, came to Community Board 17 and said, show us how to do it. At the end of the day was that all the other districts, every other district in Brooklyn was able to secure either all or a large portion of their district having contextual zoning, meaning that a developer could not just come in and change a character of a block. It had to be contextual, whether it's the heights, whatever everything. And we have been unsuccessful over the past 17 years. And in that period of time, we've watched the community just being destroyed. Every community across the United States, the residents want to have some impact on input into what's happening in the community. And we've been denied that because the existing zoning code that goes back to 1961 does not give us that freedom. Developers, as a matter of there has not been what they call a ULUP. I'm not trying to make things complicated. There's not been a ULUP application to change the zoning for any parcel of land in the past 20 years in Community Board 17. What does that mean? No developer has had to go through the process of coming to the community board to ask for permission to do anything that they've done. The only application in the past 20 years was when the developer came and said, there is this industrial area by Kings Highway. We all remember that happened recently. We want to change it to build a storage facility. And he had to come to the community board, the land use committee. That has been the only EULA process. And you can go to the DCP's website and check it out yourself. That has happened. Plus another M1, but no reason, because they can do it as a matter of right. So every day that we sit back and do nothing, we will wake up one day and find all of this area here has been subject to whatever a developer wants to do. And that's why there is an urgency to move forward with restricting them. I hope that answers your question. Hazel Martinez has her hand raised. I can't see.
Yes, good evening. I want to ask a question about the R4-1 and R4B, because I noticed on one side of the cemetery, it's a mixture of both. What is the difference in those areas? Because in the middle of it, on two sections, you have R4B.
Okay, so I just asked George James, who is a consultant who worked on the actual coding. So I texted him and said, someone has raised the issue that R4-1 is less restrictive than R4. And he said it is not. R4 can do multi.
Yes, it is.
But in the middle,
less restrictive or more?
Oh, wait, can I?
One second, please. No, 1 second. Is it? When you do clear and say less restrictive, meaning that more can be done, right?
R4 is the lowest. If you go to R4-1 and R4B, you got more density, so they can build the houses closer. So we don't, I would say that's all upzoning. If you go from R4 to R4-1 or from R4 to R4B, you're upzoning. So I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with that at all. So you kind of, that's going to be upzoned if you go to R4-1 or R4B.
My question though is, in the middle, you have R4-1 and inside of it is R4B. What's the difference? What is that? Why is that in that area instead of it all being one thing?
Yeah, well, R4B is you can build with no lot lines. I don't know why that's being done, but I know that you have no lot lines, so buildings.
Right, but it's right in the middle of the R4-1. So why is that different? Why is the need for that? What is there?
It shouldn't be, because right now it's all R4. And so why, I don't know. Miss James, do you know why that?
Okay, so my overall concern was in terms of the building heights, right? I'm less concerned about, the sidewalks, sorry, the side streets.
But-
I've asked George to join, I'm not sure, but we're gonna come back to that before we take a vote. If the consensus is to revert to an R4, that's on the table, that's perfectly fine.
That's the
We
only thing
can,
I'm comfortable with, because otherwise you're giving up this whole R4 area, and that's the lowest that we have.
okay, so that can be two, I mean, this is our plan, okay? This is just, for us to decide what's in our best interest. So if the consensus tonight is that we are more comfortable with an R4, we can keep the R4 as is. The reason I went along with it, because it's my understanding that R4B is always more restricted because it's contextual versus a regular R4. The same thing, like an R6 A is more, or B is more contextual than just an R6. But if we're comfortable with it, we're waiting for him to come back, see if he comes on, that's fine. But I guess somebody has had their hands raised. I'm not seeing everybody on the screen.
I'm sorry, if I could really quickly.
Yes, please. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Tim is speaking.
Okay.
Excuse me, Tim is speaking. Please. Please mute yourself if you're not, since you're not speaking. Go ahead, Tim, please.
I apologize. I'll be really quick. I was just popping in to say that the R4B is actually, it is more restrictive, and I can't, I will wait for George to join if he does, because he may be able to describe.
When you say more
why that was.
restrictive, what do you mean? Because you can build more densely in an R4B than you can in an R4. So what do you mean by more restrictive? That there's less building allowed? I don't know what that means.
Yes, so the building height is lower in an R4B. The maximum building height is 24 feet as opposed to 35 under the R4.
But you have no yards, no side yards, and the buildings are right up against each other. So
That's correct. And in
so
that
that's good.
That's correct. And in that section, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm looking at a view, I believe that section, again, I'll let George explain, but it looks to me that that area, which is just south of the cemetery, which it looks like it's just east of Albany Avenue, East 42nd and East 43rd, that those buildings are not detached, that there are no side yards, and the R4B.
Yeah, but it's still an R4, and if you make it R4B, then anything that is detached can now be attached. So you're still making it more dense. You're making the area allowable to be more dense.
Right. So, okay.
Okay, so we
I see what
could,
you're saying.
yeah, so right now it seems, unless anybody has a contrary view, it seems we're more comfortable with an R4, so we'll revert back to the R4. Lilia Heron Robinson.
I have a question.
My comment is,
oh my God.
we go through this process, and bottom line is, what guarantee will there be if a new administration comes in and decides to change up all of this again? I mean, bottom line is, there are no guarantees on this. Am I correct?
Probably not. I'm not an expert on New York State's constitution, New York City's constitution or charter, but it has always been the precedent that to make a change to zoning, it has to be initiated and has to go through a process. So if the concern is that arbitrarily that the mayor or DCP can come in tomorrow, well, come in the day after this has been approved, let's say it's approved, and say, you know what, we changed our mind, that is, I think there are legal ramifications here. And I don't see that it being possible. Can I point exactly to a section and say they're prohibited from doing that? I would say that it would certainly be a deviation from what has transpired over the years. So so look, if we can take the approach, well, we're not going to do anything because we're worried that after we do all of this, they come back and want to make some changes. That doesn't help us deal with what is right now. We are faced with a situation, we are trying to address it. So whether 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we think that they could want to come back If we do nothing, 5-10 years from now, there will not be this community here.
My question is again, I mean, it has taken 17 years for us to reach to this stage, and we're still fighting the battle. That is why I brought up this question. That's all. I'm not against the plan. I'm just saying, after we do all this work, what are the guarantees? That's all I'm saying.
Guarantee of what? Guarantee you'll be accepted, guarantee that,
Guarantee that it'll be accepted, yeah.
there are no guarantees. The only
And
guarantee that there is that if the mayor sees that as a community, we are determined to preserve and protect, it's all political, okay? If the mayor sees that we are committed to preserving and protecting this community, then the same way how Staten Island and Queens has political clout, he will recognize the political clout that we have, and it will be addressed. If we don't participate, if we don't engage in it, if there does not seem to be the community rallying behind this, then yes, it will be tossed aside. The acceptance of this depends on every single one of us making it clear we are not happy, we're not comfortable with the status quo, and we're no longer going to accept it. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
Hazel Martinez.
Oh, sorry, I took my hand down.
Okay. So does anybody have any other questions? So we've agreed that we are going to change. Come
Yes, I
back
do.
to, sorry?
Yes, I do have a question. My hand.
Okay, Adele, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty seeing everybody. I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see on the screen. Go ahead.
Well, I tried to speak, but they were talking about my tents. Talked on top of me, so I just stopped talking. No, my question is regard to the Eastern District. Everybody keeps talking about one side, but not the other. We have to consider everything. And I'm on Kings Highway, right off of Remsen Avenue, and I believe it's a R6.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So what is being proposed here is that R6, bear in mind, everywhere you see R6, R5B to the east,
This is R6.
to the right of the screen,
Yeah.
that's an R6.
Yeah.
Now, it just so happened, for reasons we do not know, well, perhaps because there's no incentive to build there because gentrification has not yet taken place.
Oh, yes, it is.
Perhaps, okay.
Well,
Whatever the reason, we have not seen, for lack of a better word, the massive attack in that area. So yes, we're putting on the table that we would like DCP to take an entire look at the district, but we recognize it depends on their resources. They may not have the resources to be able to change the zoning for the entire district at this time. So they may decide just to do one portion, but we're letting them know this is what we're looking at, what we're expecting, and as soon as the resources are available, the eastern portion should also be addressed.
Yeah, because if you leave the east unprotected, then it's going to get gobbled up. Because right now they are looking at East 98th Street on both sides, both community boards. They're looking at what the old Rite Aid was that closed down. That is already slated. You may not know. I know. The slated luxury condominium. What the height is going to be, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the biggest development that is proposed for Community Board 17 is on East 98th Street, where there are going to be 12 buildings, 12 or 13 buildings, something like 10 stories high, along East 98th Street. So yes, that is the major development that is taking place, or is planned over there. But bear in mind, again, the whole area to the east of Remsen Avenue is currently in R6, which gives the developers the right to tear down as many buildings as they want, and consequently, within whatever floor area ratio, go as high as they want to. Brandon?
Yeah, because this is R6.
I was actually looking at the residence, the district codes, because I know one of the things that we were having some issue with was the differences between the R4. So if I could just have a second to just share my screen so that
Sure,
I
please, I'll stop sharing. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
So what I've noticed is that based on what I heard, R4 really restricts the height that you can build up, and I believe that's up to 35 feet based off of here. So districts may rise to 25 feet before being set back to the maximum building height of 35 feet, which means that it is a higher density.
No, the
Which
higher density, because there's different density. There's density high and then there's density wide. So
okay,
R4 is the lowest, it's the smallest lot size. So if you go to an R4B or R41, you get wider buildings that don't have to have yards. I've researched this a lot because I live in the R4. So
so that's
R4 is the best you can do unless you go down to an R4A, I think, which is lower.
got you. So you're basically talking about the spacing in between because you really
Yes, because the height is not that much of a factor because they're pretty much built up to like they're saturated. There's nowhere else you can go in
that's
R4. You can build a little higher. You can build a little setback and maybe a story, but a little setback. But if you go to R4-1 or R4B, you're making the whole community denser because now nobody needs to have a yard. And you can build right up to the lot lines, and that's worse than having a little bit of a higher building.
So Margarita,
It's only like 10 feet.
would an R4A, in your opinion, solve that issue?
R4A.
R4A is lower, but I think R4 just leave it the way it is. I don't even think
R4, that's fine.
you know,
We can, yeah,
because
that's
if we
fine.
ask for a down zoning to R4A, then they might not even accept that.
Okay, good
So
point.
I'm
Good
like,
point.
let's leave it the way it is.
Good point.
I think
Okay.
everybody here is satisfied with that, then I'm satisfied with that.
Okay,
That's good.
so that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions before we move forward to taking a vote? Adele, did you have your
I
hands
wasn't
raised
finished.
again? Adele, please go
I
ahead.
wasn't. Yes, I was going to say maybe I can ask for my area for an R4. Can you hear me?
What's your area now?
I'm on Kings Highway.
Yeah, but what is it? Can we put the map up?
Marguerite, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I was telling Marguerite.
You're gonna be down zone to R5B, right? Are you R6 now?
Yes.
Yes, so you're gonna be down zone in this.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but I don't know if they, going from an R6 to an R4, that's a big down zone. So I don't know if they would accept that.
Maybe R5.
It's an R5, R5B contextual, at least it wouldn't exceed three stories. I think that's the best we can do at this point.
That's
Compared to 20, right, Adele?
Say again?
If we don't
Yeah.
if we don't do something, they could go up to 20 stories. Right now, they're limited to 3 stories.
Yeah, 3 stories would be more reasonable because they have 3 stories across the street also.
Okay. So any more? Allison is on. Allison Martinez.
Hello. I agree with Marguerite. I think we should leave the R4 because the other reason why you want to still require that larger size of side yard and all that is for drainage, which we already don't have the infrastructural support for to begin with, of real investment in that, and you'll have more flooding because there's no place for the water to go as is.
That's a good point.
Great. Okay.
So
Okay. So are we able to do it in totality, meaning say that we accept the plan as proposed, except that where was I'm trying to give you a comprehensive view. Where it was suggested to go from an R4 to any other R4 104B that we remain at R4. Is that, can we take a vote on that, or do we need to segment this anymore, or is that sufficient?
And in my area, you said R6 to R5.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Let me see if I can show more than that.
Yes.
Okay. So I think everybody here except Tim is a committee member, right? I don't remember anybody not being a committee member. So can you by show, I'm gonna, okay, please take one final look at the map, because I need to close my sharing, stop sharing, so I can actually see everybody right now to move forward. So take a final look. We can spend another couple minutes. If there are any other questions on the map, zoning, we'll address them, and then we'll move forward to taking a vote.
What the hell?
I'm sorry, Joan Erskine here, and I can't find my hand icon, so
That's
I'm
okay,
just
go ahead.
interrupting. Could you move? I can't see the bottom of the map because
Sure.
the words go across it, and that
Uh-huh.
happens to be where I live. So
Okay, one second. Let me get it up. Sorry, one second.
thank you.
In the commercial area, is this an overlay or is this something entirely different planned here?
Okay, I'm sorry. Is it Allison? Allison, Joan had the floor.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
So,
I'm done. I can see now. So that's Powdergate Park. I would be R4B. Okay.
well, a decision, I think we had a consensus that we would just keep all R4s as they were and
Right.
not try to modify it. So it would remain as an R4.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Allison?
I just wanted to see if there's some more discussion around the commercial area that's planned here, contemplated here. Are these overlays or is this something else? And are there any like incentives tied to this, or what is that?
Okay. So okay, the first step here is we're not gonna interact with DCP after tonight. I mean, like right after tonight. The first step here is to get a consensus from the zoning committee. Then the next would be to present it to the executive committee, and then to the board. So once we've agreed on the general framework, then the next month, October, would be spent trying to develop a more comprehensive plan in terms of incentives, things that we want for everything else in exchange. But until we have this basic framework in place, we can't really move forward. So at that point, in terms of what incentives the city should give us to be able to, because what I haven't told you yet or shown you yet is that we are increasing the yield. I can switch to it to show you. We've increased the yield by 3,800. Is that the right number? I'll show it to you shortly. So we're giving the city, we're accommodating the city in exchange for preserving the rest of the district. So at that point, I would say sometime in September, October, there'd be more community engagement in terms of what we need, what we want to ask for, whether it's more the city to provide more parks, enhance. At that point, that type of discussion can take place, but it will cloud the issue right now if we focus on that. Does that answer your question, Allison?
I was more asking about like the commercial zoning that was selected in these areas. Is there some kind of incentive attached to those specifically, not about any other incentives that the community may want to ask for? But
incentives like what? Can you be a little?
I mean, more like, is there a tax incentive, or is it contemplating like some of the city of yes, why these particular zoning options were selected for the commercial areas?
Yeah, I think it was selected primarily because it allows for commercial overlay. So if you see New York Avenue, New York Avenue is strictly residential. Whereas Rogers and Bedford, they're not.
Okay.
So that was a primary reason.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions before we take a vote? Valerie Booth?
Yeah, just one question. So, the 7A over on the, I'm just gonna say maybe, I don't know what, the
The
left.
top,
I'm
the
not
west.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's a 7? I know the 6 and the 4s, but the 7, what are those?
Okay. Is Tim? Tim? Are you still on?
Yes, I'm still here.
Thank you.
The R, you're just asking about the R7A district.
Yeah.
So that the maximum height with that is 95 feet or 9 stories, with an FAR of 4.6. So that would allow for, apartment buildings. It would also trigger MIH. So any new development in that area would also have to build affordable housing, whereas currently it's zoned R71-1. It's not, you're only getting market rate development in those areas.
And what is that? Was that a street there, the 7A?
I believe that's New York Avenue. That the you're talking about the R7A that goes north south on that map.
Yeah, it looks like north south. Yeah, but is that New York? Wow, New York. Okay.
Yeah, so that's Bedford, between Bedford and New York, between Linden and north of Linden up to Clarkson. Our district ends at Clarkson. So that area, because bear in mind, we already have this building, which I think is 26 stories high. I haven't counted it, but that's what I heard. So that getting away from that R7A, R71 would not permit that kind of development. It would be contextual at R7A.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So, since there are no further questions, go ahead.
One from at least I would at least like to have a carve out between on New York Avenue between at least, let me see, probably, well, this is going to be really like selective, but it would be, I would say like Farragut to Glenwood, at least something that's less than 7A, because at least there's still some single family homes there who would like to have less pressure on them right at those corners.
Okay, so you're talking about, can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Are you're talking specifically on New York?
New York
Okay,
between
so
like
this is
Glenwood and let's say go to Foster then, like, but Farragut, between Farragut and Glenwood, so that lower part there.
right here. But under you can do a street view. Isn't there development on this right now? I thought there was extensive development in that area.
There's extensive development on New York, yes, but if you put R7A there, right now it's the people who live there who are trying to maintain their single family homes will already have a lot of impact from the R6. R7A makes it even more of a developer's dream to
Can I
have
ask
that
a
there.
question? Can I ask a question to follow up with Allison's? Is it possible to rezone different sides of that New York? Because on the west side of New York Avenue, you button up on R5B, which is already a little higher, but on the eastern side, you're butting up to an R4 district, which is a big change from R4 to R7A. So all the people on the eastern side of New York Avenue, from all the way on top of the cemetery all the way down to Glenwood, it's going to be rough. So I'm just wondering, can you split the avenue in half and do R7A on one side and maybe like an R6 or an R5B on the other side? Is that like a possibility?
Here's a challenge. We're trying to meet a certain threshold in terms of housing to say to the city, we are delivering a certain number of housing units, right? We're being reasonable. And most of it, unfortunately, is being pushed onto New York.
Yeah.
That's because that's where it has the proliferation has taken place, right? So it's
How much do you
unfortunate.
think how much would be taken away if you just did like half the avenue?
Oh,
The
we
west
have
side.
no. That's a good question. That's a good question because original we had stopped right, I think, at Newkirk, and we were. I can actually give it a number. We were at 2,800 using the city the way DCP would compute it, and planning and land use very, looking at this and saying, guys, we want to help you make this through. And we took it. We then extended it through all the way down to New York, and we were able to increase it to 3,800, which significantly improves the ability to
Right.
get this to go
But
through.
I don't mean splitting it in half from north to south. I mean splitting it from west to east.
I know, but everything has, if we do that, we're going to have to we're going to have to find some alternative to be able to the units we're losing
Yeah.
to find it someplace else.
Okay, well, it was just a thought.
Yeah. So it's not that, I mean, it pains me to see New York Avenue go, but given the fact we've lost that, it's like, I don't say cry of a spin, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're
What
trying to
if we,
hold on to
okay, so
something.
the other question was, you still can upzone it, like, but maybe just not to R7A, maybe to R6A or something.
Okay, so let's do this, right? We can pass a resolution that still accepts it with certain modifications, like so the resolution would have to be pleased that we can downzone. I mean, sorry, change an R6 between The thing that I've also heard too is that DCP does not like the selective kind of rezoning. But if it's a case that the numbers change significantly, so it would have to, I mean, first of all, is there any way we could accept an R7 between Farragut and Glenwood? I guess that's
No.
no.
The answer is no.
So, but it would have to be framed in this perspective that we move to the motion, the resolution will be to change it, but with the understanding that if it significantly reduces the number between under 3,000, then we will need to revert to the R7A. Otherwise, I'm simply saying to this committee, we're not going to have great success in being able to push this. There's a high risk we will not have success. And every day that we fail to move forward, our community is being destroyed. Every day a single home is being destroyed. So while it breaks our heart, I mean, like Glenwood Road to me was one of the loveliest roads in our community.
Yeah.
It pains me to see this. Sorry, it pains me. It really does. Okay. But the question is, how do we move forward to ensure we stop the bleed? That's really what it is. So if somebody can make a motion to accept the proposed zoning map with the amendments to where indicated for an R1, R41, R4B to revert to an R4, and that the section between Farragut, Glenwood Road and Farragut Road be that the zoning there would be an R6A. It's like something we can live with.
Well, I would need to know the difference between R6A and R6B in
Okay,
that area.
Brendan, can you online? Can you?
An R6A an A is always better than a B, just FYI.
That's why I said an A.
Yeah.
Because remember, if you go to an R7A to an R6, they can go 50 stories high if they buy up the whole block. Right?
That's my same concern with the R5B, because you guys mentioned that we wouldn't have side yards if there was a R4B. So if there's a R5B and no side yards, are we going to run the risk of flooding as well? But in the areas that are designated R5B, because I'm in an R5B, so I'm concerned about that as well.
Okay, without that R5,
you're getting downzoned, so that's one good thing. You're going to be getting downzoned to that, because right now you're in an R6 something, right?
I'm in an R5 now, but I'm worried that if a developer can build a 3-story building up to my property line, that that could impact us.
Okay, I'm confused. I got to see the two maps together to understand what we're doing.
Let me go to the existing, am I sharing my screen?
Oh, sorry. I'll stop.
Okay, good, okay. This is the existing map, existing zoning. So what we're saying is that any development must be contextual in that area of it in where it's currently R5.
I'm not seeing a map.
My screen tells me I'm sharing. It says I'm sharing.
I can see it. I have a question. So the R5, I'm not saying it all has to change because I don't live in the, I live in one small area, right? But I do share the same concerns that Marguerite brought up about, not having side yards and things like that. And, if a developer was to come in and say, tear my neighbor's house down and build a 3-story building, what does that, what does that mean as far as the having the 2 side yards required for a detached home? If a builder comes in and they don't have to, R5B, they don't have to consider that anymore.
Right, they can build right up to your property line.
So George, who is doing this project, so in terms of, he says, R4 is not contextual and can produce unpredictable results if you get a big enough site. R41 is for semi-detached. R4B is for attached. R4 is so basically any yard configuration, but they're all height limited. Okay, so that's what he's saying. If we can, if the overwhelming consensus is, I always like contextual because that automatically places some limitations. But if does anybody else have a concern about the R5 in the north?
That's all the R5s are going to R5B, right?
Correct, yes. I think you actually have a higher risk of if you don't have the R5 in the north. So that's my concern.
Can you put the maps back up? Because I can't see
Yeah,
them.
which one do you want? The current or the proposed?
Can we have them side by side, or is that not possible?
Let me see if I can do this.
Hey, buddy.
One second, I need to stop my video.
Can you hear me?
I can
Miss
hear
Marguerite?
you.
Which one is better, the R6A or the R5?
Which is better? Well, R5 is better. It's lower density than R6A.
Okay. Because that's what I was trying to tell her that on my side we need. Because on Kings Highway, we don't need no superstructures.
You're going to be R5B, not R6.
Okay. Because on the map it says R6. So she showed before.
On the amended map? Well, when she gets them up, we can talk about it.
Because I gotta ask somebody who knows.
Okay. Okay, so that's the best I can do in terms of size, doing this. Again, we have to be cognizant of the fact that to get this to go, get any type of rezoning to go through, we have to have a minimum number of units to get DCP to even agree to come to the table.
I understand that, but I'm just gonna say again for the record, at least from Farragut to Glenwood, we can't do this because this has been the epicenter of the issue with development, and we can't now ask them to go from a what is R6 to an even higher density.
We agreed,
So,
Allison. We agreed the
Okay.
motion I'm asking for from the floor is that we accept the plan as proposed, with the modification that from Farragut to Glenwood Road would be R6A, unless it substantially causes the number of units, which is not unlikely, to dip, but I shouldn't say so. By including the portion, let me just say, by including the portion from Foster to the end of New York. No, we may be able to make it. We may, okay. But with the caveat that if the number dips below 3,000, which jeopardizes this whole plan, okay? So the question is, are we going to jeopardize this plan because of one particular block? So the motion would be to accept it as proposed with the change that between Glenwood, Farragut Road and Glenwood Road on New York Avenue would be an R6A instead of an R7A. And if this is under desire to revert or maintain the R4 where it was previously an R4. Can I get a motion from the floor?
Allison, are you okay with that?
I'm not, only in the sense that I understand the caveat, but you can't ask the people who are the epicenter to still be and did a lot of the movement of this to still take more. Like we would have to find some way to distribute whatever the differential is
What is
somewhere else.
what is it zoned for now? Because I can't see it on the
It's
other.
R6.
It's an R6.
It's
So
R6.
this would move to an R6A,
R6.
which would limit the further development of it.
But we're saying we'd only do that if the numbers are gonna meet the threshold. But could he give us like some quick numbers to see like what by shifting from R7A to R6A, what the loss is?
As I said, I don't think it will cause us to go below 3. It may be something like 200 units.
I have a question. It's in regards to the number. Were other communities in Brooklyn given a number before they rezoned, or just us?
In general, right now, the ask is for all communities to come up with at least 3,000 units.
Did we already do that?
Well, see, that's what I always said. We've already given up so much, and that's why at the last meeting when the borough president was there, I said, "Can you give us a break? Because we already gave up so much." And he said, "No, nobody gets a break."
Okay, so he's made it very clear that, bear in mind that after the rezoning committee, after the board votes on it, it goes to the borough president's office. If this is rejected, it's as a complete standstill. And he's made it very clear what his position is, that he will not give his approval unless we have some level of zoning that increases the housing stock. And when you specifically asked him about the fact that we had made such a substantial contribution to New York City's addressing New York's housing crisis based on what existed, he was very clear. So right now, we had a meeting at his office last week with his staff. We presented and said, Tim Anderson has his hand raised. Tim, please go ahead.
Oh, I just quickly wanted to say, understanding that point that, there has been, a lot of development that has occurred in CB 17. I just wanted to note that, a lot of what this proposal is trying to do, obviously, move the development into, these specific corridors, but it would also create affordable housing, which has not been developed in the area. And, all the development that has occurred has been market rate. And, this plan would, create an incentive, would essentially force the developers, if they want to come in and they want to build in the R7, they have to include affordable units in their development.
Yeah, but with all due respect, the affordable housing thing, we've been through it a lot. We know that it's not really affordable for us. So that's really that's not an issue. That doesn't really mean anything to me anyway.
Yeah, but Margaret, what happens here is that while the AMI may not be is not satisfactory, there is some limit there. Otherwise, we are facing there is no limit. As I said from the very
No, I
beginning.
understand that, but I just wanted to say that whole talking point is just a talking point. We were all aware of it, and it's a talking point, and we're going to adjust to it, but it's just a talking point. It doesn't mean anything.
Right now, I don't think Allison was on. According to the Association of Neighborhoods and Development, Housing Development, CB 17 had the third highest production of non-affordable, the most expensive development in the city, the third highest, including
There you go.
Manhattan, between 2020, because it was an R6. Because there was no MIH. So the whole reason of included is to trigger MIH. So at least there is some element. It may not be at the level of the AMI that we want, but at least there is some level. Because without that, there is no restriction at all. They can create apartments that rent at 10,000, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
Can we have a motion to accept as is with the modification that R4s remain as R4 and that the corridor on New York Avenue between Farragut and Glenwood Road be an R6A, as long as it does not jeopardize this whole thing by bringing the numbers down below 3,000.
My Kings Highway. You said you were going to make it R5? It's on the map. Oh. Oh my goodness. Hello.
No, Adele, you're going to R5B, I think.
She didn't say so.
No, that's what's on the new map, R5B.
Look again. Let's see.
I don't know where you live, Ardell, so I can't tell you what you're going to. But you know it's on the map.
Kings Highway and Remsen. Right at that big intersection. East 91, East 92, Remsen Avenue, right there, Kings Highway.
Okay, so I'm going to, this is going to be a vote up or down. And again, I'm simply saying that, where's my, this is going to determine whether or not R6 remains as is, where we just go ahead and complain about what's happening. This is a measure to stop the bleed. So that being said, I'm going to make the motion, single second, and take a vote on it. I move that we accept the proposed zoning map as presented with the following changes: that where it indicates R4-1 and R4-B, that it reverts back to R4, and that the New York corridor between Farragut and Glenwood Road be changed to an R6A. The numbers be generated again provided that it does not reduce their housing unit to below 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you.
And
So I'm going to stop sharing now because I need to see take the vote. So all in favor, can you raise your hand, please? Would somebody like to would somebody like to count the votes?
Looks like 14.
14. Do you mind if since your camera's off, I don't think you can object. I just want to take a picture of it so to memorialize it.
Oh, now it looks like 15 now. 1, 2,
Okay.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15.
Okay, great. Okay, so if you don't one more time. Sorry. If you don't mind putting your hands down, I'm going to ask for all those who are opposed to raise their hands. But can you put your hands down first?
I put my hand up.
I'm not sure I got it, but that's okay. All those opposed, can you raise your hand, please?
No.
Okay.
Adele, are you opposed, Adele? That's you. So you got one opposition.
Okay,
did
that's
not
fine.
think about my area, with the exception of making it up from a 6 to a 5. It's included in this district too.
Okay, any extension? I got your recorded vote, Adele, of no. Sorry, any abstentions? Can you put your hand down, please, so we can see if there are any abstentions on any abstentions? Okay. So I want to thank everyone tonight for their diligence, their commitment to discuss this. We've only just begun. I'm going to ask you please to get involved in community engagement. What that means is like ask your neighbors. We're going to go through the survey to make it as simple as possible. If you can speak to at least 25 people and just get them to commit to get the survey, we want to at least have a response rate of 2,500, which is good because you saw from the city council results, barely 2,000 people voted in many instances. So if we can at least have a response of 2,500, it puts us in good stead. So I'm really going to reach out to you and ask you, Daniel, you just joined, right? Did I not see you before?
Oh, I've been on since 7:45.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody tonight for your your hard work in making this happen. The next step will be the executive committee and then the board. But between that time, community engagement, wherever you see anything, if you know of a planned event, please let us know so we can go there. We're asking everybody to become engaged. If you want this change, it cannot be a 1, 2, 3 person job. It has to be all of us participating in getting the community behind us. DCP is already saying that they're not going to come in if their community is not behind the rezoning. So we need to show them we've made the sacrifice. This is a sacrifice. Let's not kid ourselves. It is a sacrifice. We know that. We're sacrificing for the betterment of this community because we want to remain here. We belong here. We have the right to be here. We're not going to be forced out by development taking place that makes us feel out of place. Having said so, I want to thank Tim from the Planning and Land Use Division from joining us tonight. He was very helpful. I'm not sure he's still on. And thank everybody. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Daniel, is there anything you wanted to say? I will, Joan. Okay, thanks. Okay. Daniel, was there something you wanted to say? Not really? Okay, Valerie, your hand is up. Is that too?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what did you say you're going to send out a survey, something that you want us to talk to our neighbors? What did you say? I missed.
Yes, the survey. is to get their opinion. Tonight, you were able to express your opinion, right? As to whether or not you thought this is a good plan, it will work, whatever. So we want other people in the community to do exactly what was done tonight and to capture that in the form of a survey. So if
And
this could, hmm?
you're gonna be sending out the survey and
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because
and you said something about you know, if you know of any event, you know, getting the. I mean, because
yeah.
I could have something at my church, so
Yeah, great. Good. So if you need, like, for example, if you know anybody who's on the committee, or it doesn't have to be a committee member, you can say that I'm having an event. Can I get 2 people to come with me to my church event to give out the survey? So let's all reach out and support each other in their attempts to get the engagement. So somebody's having a block party. What I would like to do, with your permission, is have a group chat, right? So it'll be on the same level. Please call the board's office tomorrow, or here's my telephone number. Can you please record? If you want to be added to the group chat, it helps so much in terms of communication. My number is 718-346-3600. Please text me and say I want to be added. So we'll all be on the same page. We'll all have the information. If somebody's having an event, you can stop by for an hour or two. That would be so helpful. 718-346-3600. So I'm inviting everybody here tonight to join. Send me a text. I will add your name to the WhatsApp chat, so you'll be in constant communication. I say constant, you'll be in communication with everything which is going on.
Can I ask a question about
Sure.
the survey? Well, not
Mhm.
about the survey actually, but do we need to get like signatures, like a petition? I mean, is that something that we want to show them?
Well, not really, because the survey, it has been done by Brooklyn Level Up, right? So once, we'll have the surveys either electronically or in writing. So we really don't really need a signature, but
You mean the surveys like we already looked at, that we already filled out? Those
correct,
But
correct, yeah.
that doesn't like really say, those surveys don't actually say, yes, we want the rezoning. So I'm saying.
Okay, so that's a good point. That's a good point. So you're suggesting, can you just make a quick resolution? Has the meeting been adjourned? No, I don't think so. So, okay, fine. So, Marguerite, do you want to make a resolution to the effect? See if we can get a consensus as to do a petition to adopt it. That's fine. That's okay.
Well, I guess we could have my question was, would that help the process? Would that?
It would. The surveys just say the number, but with the petition, then it's even more definitive. So
Okay,
you're right.
well, then I guess I'd like to make a resolution that we have a petition.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, quick vote. All in favor? So far, we do not have a majority.
No. Nope, we got more.
Is anybody having difficulty raising their hands? If you tell me anybody else is having difficulty? Okay, I think we have it now, right? Okay, I think 1, 2, 3. Can somebody do a count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that should be sufficient.
Yeah, you have it.
Okay, anybody opposed? And put your hands down, please. Okay, so we have two. Miss Robinson is opposed to the survey. Bree, are you opposed to the survey? To the petition?
Petition.
Huh?
I'm opposed because we already did this.
Did what?
It was a petition that was sent around to get signatures from the community about this rezoning. So I don't understand why there's a situation about another petition.
Okay, so this is a complete, this is a petition that we want the city to move forward with adopting this zoning plan so that we can curtail the development right now. So, okay, if you can raise your hand, I'll just make a note that it was opposed. That's fine. If you raise your hand again, I'll just take.
I'm opposed. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
opposed.
Great.
I'm
Okay,
opposed.
perfect. Okay, thank you very much. I think it has passed. Can I get a resolution, sorry, a motion to adjourn the meeting? We've never been this long before.
Okay, I make a
I make a
motion
motion.
to, I make a
I
motion to
would like
adjourn
to
the
make a
meeting.
motion to, go ahead, Marguerite.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting, Marguerite.
And I second, Ann Hudson.
Okay, and I know I just want to refer to Tim had a message in the chat. I'm not sure I got it. Could you just read what you said?
Sure. I just wanted to thank you all for inviting me this evening, and hope I was able to provide some help. And if there's any other further questions, I just dropped my email in the chat. It's tanderson@council.nyc.gov. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out.
And please communicate our thanks to your entire team. They have been more than wonderful. We appreciate every single help they've given. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Okay, take care. Thanks. Good night. Thanks. Bye.
Good night.
Have a happy,
Bye.
safe summer, everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll be working, right? This is a working summer for us.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, quick question.
Yes.
Am I able to have a copy of the map information I was given? Or not, that's fine. I don't mind. I just wanted to know.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to go through because the other reason there's a risk of speculation by developers.
Understand.
And that was just, it wasn't to withhold because it's you clearly saw it. We don't want to have speculators in trying to, that's a real reason. That's the only reason.
That's fine, no problem. And as far as the petition is concerned, somebody has to make it so that it could be
Yes.
Okay, and that'll be sent out to us sooner or later. I guess.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
No problem. Have a wonderful. I know you've been on so long. Have a good night.
Take a good night, everybody, and thank you. Okay. Bye.
Good night.
Good
Bye,
night.
thanks.